Welcome back to this week's episode of Catching Flies podcast. All hail King Mahomes and King Reed, right? All hail. Unbelievable game. We're going to break it all down. What a crazy week it was, from the Super Bowl to aliens being shot down multiple times in America. I mean, what more could you ask for, right? Here to break it down with me, he has a master's degree. He is the producer of this very good podcast. He is the Greek philosopher, Pete Makadis. What's going on, Petey?
Contrary to popular belief, I was not in any of those UFOs up there, even though I've been called an alien many times by many people. I was safely on the ground for all of it. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of Catching Flies. I'm Pete, and it's my pleasure to be here with you guys today. Yeah, it's funny to just talk about the UFO very briefly. UFO doesn't necessarily mean ET. Steven and I both agree that there certainly is something out there in the universe. It's impossible for there not to be. I'm not sure if this is it. but all that said, we're so glad you're here with us this week. We got a Super Bowl to cover, y'all. Before we do that, I just want to let everybody know to please, if you don't mind, you're already here. You got that little button right there under the screen. Hit that little subscribe button for us. And we're not greedy. We ask you to wait until the end of the video to hit the like button because you don't know. You might not like it. I doubt it, but you might not. Yeah, you might not. I mean, everyone has a bad show every now and then. We're waiting for our first one. But please hit that subscribe button so we can get going a little bit and even provide more content for everybody. Steve and I, like I said, we do this show every day. Just every now and then we have cameras on it and a microphone on it. So we like to give you a little glimpse into our little world. But Super Bowl 57 was completed on Sunday. So too was the 2022 NFL regular season, postseason. The calendar doesn't end, of course. And after this week, we're going to talk about football again before the next season starts. Probably not every week like we have been, certainly not every week like we have been. But Steve, tell us about what your immediate thoughts are with the Super Bowl.
What a game. The back and forth, the high scoring, lead changes. What more could you really ask for in a game? It sucked that it come down to that flag with 2 minutes to go.
And we'll talk about that.
Basically won the game for the Chiefs. Well, didn't win them the game, but it definitely helped them a lot. Made it pretty impossible for the Eagles to have much of a chance. But other than that, I mean, this game was everything you wanted and then some when it comes to big games.
Yeah, it was absolutely a great game as far as quality goes. I mean, it wasn't at all sloppy. Both teams played well. I understand there were a lot of points, and I'm more of a defensive guy. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate some offense, especially when it's well executed. I don't recall any play where the defense of either team kind of fell apart. There was some, deep plays. Devonte Smith got wide open for one play. That'll happen sometimes. But, yeah, I mean, quality was strong. Points were up there. The NFL loves that. We're going to talk about that, of course, in the context of this whole referee thing, or official thing. Remember, there's only one referee in the NFL. The rest of them are technically officials. But, right. They called holding on James Bradbury. It was about 2 minutes and change left to go. I thought it was a bad play call by the Chiefs from the beginning. I thought they were going to just try to get a first down or try to force the Eagles to take a timeout. It looks like they went for the end zone. And it paid off for them because I don't think Bradbury expected Juju Smith-Schuster to break his route like that and head forward like that. And he kind of grabbed him a little bit. And I would say this from the start. Obviously, nobody wants a game decided by a referee, but if he tackled him straight to the ground, we'd want a foul too. I mean, so the severity of the penalty or the severity of the infraction does matter, from an optics standpoint, no question. But let me ask you this. I'll speak for myself. Have you ever read the NFL rule book cover to cover?
No.
No,
Of
neither
course
have
not.
I. I mean, no one has except the referees.
Sure.
I don't
Right.
even think anyone in the NFL offices has read the NFL rulebook from start to finish. And I would say with some certainty, obviously I can't promise this is true, but with some certainty that there's nothing in the rulebook that says go ahead and call this flag in week 5, but don't call it in the Super Bowl. A flag's a flag, a penalty's a penalty. It's kind of a media / fan construct that referees are supposed to swallow their whistles in the bigger games. And it's not necessarily true. If a flag is a flag, I understand that there was a play in the second quarter where maybe it looked even more obvious and it wasn't called. You know, I'm going to give the referees some humanity here because they are humans. Let's look at Jalen Hurts, for example. Would you say he played a good game?
Pretty good for the most part.
I
Yeah.
would say he played a good game, right? I don't think anyone's going to say he had a bad game, but he threw several incomplete passes. He lost yardage on a few plays, and he lost a fumble.
That
So it
that
wasn't a
killed him
perfect
too.
game. Yeah.
That
So
fumble changed
yeah,
the whole game.
of course it did. So, but no one's going to say he had a bad game. So if the referees who are involved in every single play, by the way, Jalen Hurts gets to sit on the sideline for half the game. They're involved in every single play, and if they miss a few here and there, it's going to happen. You just hope they don't miss very obvious calls. And I want to take issue not with the referees. I want to take issue with the NFL. And do you recall the play in the second quarter getting toward the end of the half where Devonte Smith, and he's involved in some controversy again, caught the ball on the sideline and they overruled it? What did you think about
A
that play?
helmet catch.
It's the semi-helmet guy. What did you think about that
Yeah.
call?
That immediately took me back to that Tyree call. But
Yeah.
I thought it was a catch. It looked to me like he controlled it, that he had possession. I mean, it was an incredible catch to me.
Uh-huh.
I thought it should have stood.
So what you said there was key, and I'm going to say the same thing. To me, it was a catch. The NFL rulebook states otherwise, and this is the
Right.
issue I want to take with that play in particular. Not Tyree. Hey, look at me, I'm living in the past. Devonte catches the ball 2 feet inbounds, clearly.
Right.
Before he has to survive the ground, as it were, his knee hit down out of bounds. To me, that should be the end of the play.
Yep. Plays
The
over.
moment that knee hit down out of bounds, he's out of bounds. Plays
Right.
over. He's got his 2 feet in. He's got control. His knee hit the ground. There's no further need for him to go to the ground with it. Now, that's
No, I
not what the
agree.
rule book says because the rule
Right.
book's wrong. So I don't take issue with the call. I take issue with the rule. I
That's fair.
understand why they overturned. I don't like it. You don't like it. I don't think too many people except Chiefs fans liked it. But
Right.
the referees have one job: is to follow the rule book, no matter how stupid they think a rule is. And I'm sure they think some of the rules in there are stupid as hell, but
Oh yeah.
they've got to call it. They've got to call it. And
I,
with the NFL, I think there's a misnomer here. Over the last 20 years, 30 years in the NFL, rules changes have been made. Who have they benefited? Not
the
the
offensive
defense, right? The
quarterback.
offense.
Right.
Yeah, especially the quarterback. So there's this misnomer that the NFL wants offense. I disagree. The NFL wants points. They don't care about
Yeah.
offense. They want points at the end of the game. A 38-35 score, that'll make Adele happy. He don't care who wins. He don't care at all who wins. He just doesn't want to see 13-3 ever again in a Super Bowl. You know?
That's
So
fair.
so that's I mean, we're thinking about this, and the refs are taking a lot of heat. I mean, a big name like Pat McAfee attacks them all the time. And I wish Pat would turn his attention and we love you, Pat, by the way, obviously, but I wish he would turn his attention to the league. You're talking about making them full time. I don't think that would help. I think that would make them even more beholden to the league. And the league wants points. And if penalties create points, so be it. So I think the rule book needs tweaking, and I think it
Definitely.
needs to be more clear. I think the refs do as well as you can expect. I mean, imagine if they weren't there. It would be tough, man. We saw that a few seasons ago. So
No, I agree with you. This is my overarching
yeah, let's hear it.
problem with the call. You hadn't called a single defensive holding call the entire game
That's true.
on either team, not one. and then you wait till the literally biggest point of the game, 2 minutes to go. Chiefs get a first down. They can run the clock to nothing and kick an 8-second field goal, which is what exactly
which is what they
happened.
did.
To me, if they'd been calling holding, back and forth kind of all game long, it may have you may have had to been like, it's a little tic tac, but okay, they've been consistent at least. But to call that for the first time, I just thought it was completely unacceptable. Felt like they gift wrapped the Super Bowl to the new golden boy, Patrick Mahomes. And I think the NFL definitely, with Brady retiring, they want a face of the league, and they've got it now. Mahomes is 1-2, been to 3 in 6 years, 5 years, whatever, and he is now officially the face of the NFL. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I don't know. It makes you wonder sometimes, because I felt like Philly really got robbed in there. It was just a tough call in a key moment. But you can always go back and say one call can't win or lose you the game. If Hurts doesn't fumble and they get the scoop and score, they were up 14 at one time. So you got to give the Chiefs credit for battling back. And I hope this off season the NFL just takes the time to look at a few rules and maybe change them. Like, why do you need to catch the ball, get 2 feet down, and then survive the ground and do an army roll on the ground and make sure the ball still doesn't move and do 4 push-ups, and then you get up and then it's called a catch.
You
It's
forgot the
like,
jumping jack.
yeah. I mean, some of these calls that get changed. First of all, these guys are the best of the best in their position. They make incredible catches all the time, but then to overturn some of these catches are it's mind blowing to me. It's like, what more can this guy do? He survived the defender, caught the ball, he landed, and because the ball moved just a little bit as soon as he hit the ground, oh, nope, no catch. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't know. I think that needs to be looked at amongst a few other things, like McAfee said the other day on his show, maybe it's time to get some younger eyeballs in there. Get some refs that aren't 60. They they've used the same grass guy in the Super Bowl for like 70 years now.
Yeah, we're gonna
Okay,
talk
this
about
guy's
him. Yeah.
95 years old, but the grass sucked this year.
Yeah.
It was really bad. It was super slippery.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to make a change.
Yeah.
You're the biggest league in the world. You're the richest league. Like, you should have the best, and what you said about the refs. I think they should have full-time refs. This is my thing. You get a group of individuals that are going to be the refs. Obviously through the season they're refing the games, but in the off season they're watching tape. They're going to seminars. They're calling mock games, going to colleges and getting practices with big colleges. Let them get paid year round, and then when the season comes, it's go time, so to speak. But they just get more practice, and we have the greatest technology this world's ever seen, supposedly. Why can't we get decisive reviews? Why can't holding penalties in the final 2 minutes of a game be looked at and possibly overturned? I just think it's
Because it would
time.
take forever.
Well, it might, but in a world where millions and hundreds of millions of dollars are at stake at these games, we've got to get it right. And I think that's what's the most frustrating thing for people and fans right now is the NFL just really hasn't got it right a few times.
Yeah, and all that said, the referees are still going to do what the NFL wants them to, whether they're full time
Sure.
or not. I mean, that's just the moniker at that point. And regarding the hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, that's the consumer's option. I'm assuming we're talking about gambling and whatnot.
Right.
I had no money on the Super Bowl this year. I've had plenty of money on other Super Bowls. Just this year, I didn't have any, which I'm glad because we'll talk about how my prop bets did later. But
Probably as good as mine.
yeah. But yeah,
It
I
was
did
a
want to
rough
talk
day.
about George Toma. He is the man who did the grass, and he first came to my attention in the 1992 NFC Championship game the 49ers were hosting the Cowboys. The Cowboys were really on the upswing. This was going to be their first, eventually, that would have been their first of 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. And that field was a mess. It was a mess because of the weather, And he did everything he could to make that surface playable. Now, listen to what I said. The 1992 NFC Championship game, my man was already almost a senior citizen back then.
He was almost 80 at that point.
He was 30 years ago. So, do the math. He's been in every Super Bowl. He actually, I think, belongs in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Oh, absolutely.
He also belongs in retirement.
Yes.
He's done a great job for most of his career. It's unfortunate, a lot of people, their last game or their last season is one to forget. They can't all have that magical final season that the movies will tell you about. But yeah, a lot of people, like Willie Mays ended his career with the Mets. A lot of people don't necessarily know that. I remember that. Joe Namath ended his career with the Chargers, I want to say. Sometimes they just go out with a whimper. And unfortunately for someone like George Stillman, kind of went out with a whimper in the Super Bowl. And I think maybe a lot of people didn't know who he was before today, which is unfortunate because he's been a major contributor to the NFL. I honestly believe there's a place in the Hall of Fame, excuse me, for the man. But yeah, we need to move on. I mean, we don't want to be ageist here. We don't want to discriminate against people of age. But at a certain point, you slow down. It's just human nature. Y'all know the cliche by this point. Father Time is undefeated. So, and that's going to stay that way forever, most likely, until we invent something that I can't even think about. But yeah, and maybe the referees being younger could help. Replays are replays. I mean, anybody can look at a replay and come up with 2 different things. And we're talking about holding. I mean, holding's holding, man. What are you going to do? Stop the play and look at all 5 linemen and the tight end or whatever receivers happen to be like? You can't do that, man. You can't do it. Just, you gotta ref the games as best as you can. I honestly think refereeing isn't necessarily that much worse than it was 15, 20 years ago. The spotlight's bigger because of social media, because of 2 clowns like us that have our own show because we want one. You know what I mean? All that stuff just makes it more obvious. But, everything can always be better. Everything can be better. And, Mahomes is the face of the NFL, whether they win this game or not. He's got everything going for him right now. He's already in every commercial. He's got Peyton Manning's role locked down. As far as that's concerned, they have similar but different. Like they're both charming, but they have different kinds of charm. Peyton Manning's got that aw shucks charm, and Mahomes kind of got that alpha male charm. I mean, either one, they're obviously they're selling stuff with their name and their likeness. So, and yeah, whether the Chiefs won or lost, Mahomes' viability to the NFL doesn't change in the slightest. If anything, if he loses, maybe there's a different kind of narrative they can tell about him, about trying to come back and reclaim the glory. I don't know. I don't worry about any of that because the NFL to me is impossible to fix, unless it's so obvious that anyone can see it. Like a kick goes through. Nope, that's no good. Something like that. Then all of a sudden, you start the question like, "Hey, Gronkowski's kick. It looked like it went in, but I guess it didn't."
It didn't. The kick of destiny failed.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't necessarily want to spend too much time on the ref talk, but I understand it was necessary. Yeah, we're kind of slaves to what's out there, and I'm not a big Twitter guy at all, but Twitter does drive some conversations, sadly. And there's a bunch of keyboard warriors out there that just want to blame everything on the refs, and I think that's lazy. I think it's unintellectual. That's not what this show strives to be. We have to address it, and we are.
Sure.
And we did. But yeah, I think Steven and I, if we have a consensus between us based on what we said, take a look at the book, take a look at the rule book. Like I think Devonte Smith's catch is a perfect example. He got his knee down. So he got a foot, and a knee. That's the end of the play. That's the end of the play. There's no reason why he has to do anything more than that. And I don't think the refs made a bad call. I think they interpreted a rule correctly, and the rule sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
No, that's fair.
So, okay, football. How about football? They put football played in this game.
Sure.
This is our first time actually saying this. The Chiefs won the game 38-35. A couple of Super Bowl records were achieved in this game, and one of them was by the Eagles. Scoring 35 points in a losing effort is a new Super Bowl record, breaking the Patriots against the Eagles when they scored 33 points in a losing effort just a few years ago. So the Eagles got to wear the other shoe on it this time. Uh, Give me some thoughts about some standout players or plays. Uh, give it to us, Stephen. What do you think?
Well, I mean, Travis Kelsey did Travis Kelsey things. I mean, what more can you ask from that guy other than I needed him to have two more catches? That would have been great.
No.
But he's just unbelievable. And Mahomes was great. Pacheco, I thought, ran his ass off. He was running hard. I mean, he knew he was going to get hit, and he still would lower his shoulder and deliver the blow. I was very impressed with him. Once they got the cleats thing kind of figured out and the Eagles offense kind of started moving real well, Hurts had a hell of a game. He had 3 rushing touchdowns. I mean, obviously the fumble killed him. I still think that's the biggest play of the game. If he doesn't fumble there and they go down and get a field goal, I think it's over. Maybe a touchdown. It's definitely over. So, you know, Hurts, for as good as he was, I think he's going to remember that one for a long, long
Yeah,
time. Uh, Sirianni did a great job. He called a hell of a game, I thought. But in the end, Andy Reid has just showed why he's probably the second best coach in the NFL behind Belichick. I mean, they're 1A, 1B.
at this point, yeah. Historically, maybe
So,
not, but right now, sure. Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, so to me, that was my biggest takeaways. I mean, congratulations to the Kelsey family. His mom has gotten more attention than any other
That's
person in
awesome,
the
huh?
world this week.
That's awesome. Good for mama. Good for mama.
I I think I don't. I mean, I obviously don't have any insider source on this, but I think Jason Kelsey may have retired after that game. I think because I
Yeah.
was trying to lip read with him and his brother obviously embraced after the game, gave each other a hug,
Hmm.
and I swore I thought he said, "Yeah, this is it for me." So if it is, what a career! I mean, the guy is unbelievable,
And I'll tell
all
you what,
pro.
if you're gonna anybody out there listening and watching us, if you're gonna count on lip reading, you're not gonna count on me. So let's count on Steven. I am notoriously a terrible lip reader. I just what? There's a few things I can pick up, usually in the vulgarity realm. I can catch those, but that's it. So okay, that's cool. I mean, he almost retired last year. And
Yeah,
if he does this, yeah, I mean, hell of a career for sure. He won't be a first ballot Hall of Famer because the Hall of Fame hates linemen, but he'll probably get
right.
in eventually. Yeah, you got guys like
Yeah,
Alan Faneca can't get in on the first try, so you
yeah,
know,
it's like what more can they have possibly done? He's an all pro for a decade straight.
yeah,
But nope, he's got to wait till year 3 to get in.
they'll put
No,
tackles in first ballot
I think
sometimes, but never guards and centers.
the Eagles, they have a great offense too, but I think they may be surprised with 3 or 4 retirements possibility. I mean, Fletcher Cox is up there. You had in Sue, you had Kelsey, as I mentioned a while
Uh-huh.
ago. I think Lane Johnson may call it this. This
Just
may
because he's been
be
beat up. He's not old, but he's been beat
a
up.
right. I mean, he's just always hurt, and I just wonder if this was Philly's window, so to speak. And yeah, they've got some good young talent, but those veterans, man, they were so good this year, and
Hmm.
I don't know if they can repeat that. Graham is another one that's been in the
Yeah,
league 10 years almost. Like this team was a great mixture of veterans and young players that came together and just they had a great run, and it just sucks to see it end with a freaking penalty.
yeah. Well, didn't end with the penalty, but yep, we got you. But yeah, interestingly enough, we're talking about Mahomes, and I knew he was going to win the MVP.
Oh yeah, of course.
He had no reason to win it. If you look at it, he had under 200 yards passing, under 9 yards per completion, not per attempt, per completion. Two
I
of his three
agree.
touchdown passes were schemed wide open that you and I could have made that throw.
Yeah.
So his stats looked a little better with the 3 touchdown passes. I got a top 5 of people who should have been MVP over Mahomes. And before I jump into that, I would say Andy Reid was the star of the game. A lot of those Chiefs plays became successful before the ball was snapped. The way they
Definitely.
schemed, the way they motioned, and obviously the players did a great job selling that motion too. But that Eagles defense is tough, and they didn't get to Mahomes once. Part of that was Mahomes escaping and barely getting the ball free. But
And
yeah,
that
so Andy
surprised me.
Reid, yeah,
I
so
couldn't believe they didn't get to him at
not
least
even
once.
once. Yeah.
I mean,
And even though
wow.
technically the Chiefs had 2 sacks, they were both Jalen Hurts trying to get away from the pass rush and not quite making it to the line of scrimmage when he got out of bounds. That goes in the books as a sack because it was a designed pass play.
Pass. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm going to throw my love to Andy Reid there and Orlando Brown, Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Andrew Wiley. Who are those guys? That's the Chiefs' offensive line. And you don't win without an offensive line, period.
They played
And
out of their
they played out of their
mind.
minds. Yeah, Tooney and Humphrey are legit studs. They're legit studs. But Smith, Brown, and Wiley are not bad players, but they all played above their pay grade, so to speak. And they stepped up for the Super Bowl. So put those guys' names out there. As far as 5 people who deserve the MVP more than Mahomes, at number 5, we got a guy who didn't play much, but his impact was huge. He wasn't even a Chief at the beginning of the season, man. Talking about Kadarius Toney.
Darius Toney.
Yeah, he caught a wide open touchdown. He got himself open. He sold that jet sweep wonderfully.
Beautiful.
Got himself
Yeah.
open. And what was the other big play by Tony? It's
The
kind of
punt
remember the punt
return.
return. I mean, he was
Longest in NFL history or
Super
Super
Bowl
Bowl
history.
history.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I thought so maybe when I was watching the game and checked it out later. Never been a punt return for a touchdown in a Super Bowl. Never.
It's because Devin Hester never made it there, right?
He did. He actually returned a kickoff for a
Oh
touchdown
yeah,
in the
that's
Super
right. I
Bowl.
forgot he
The
was on the
opening kickoff.
yeah, the Bears Colts.
It's just weird
Yeah, I
that
did forget about that.
yeah, it's just weird that punt returns just haven't
Yeah,
happened.
you would think one
It's a
would
little
sneak
fluky.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tony, again, I want to state that he didn't have a big impact on the game as far as quantity goes. My understanding, he's played less than 10 offensive snaps. But
Yeah,
Desmond Howard won the Super Bowl MVP as a return man before. And I'm not saying Tony deserved the MVP. He's number 5 on the list, but
sure.
as far as value goes, until he made that punt return, I was convinced the Eagles were still going to win. After that punt return, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's value, as it were, I'm
Definitely
gonna
worth the
put
trade.
yeah. So I'm gonna consider Tony like a special teams representative on this list. Number 4, I got wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster. Tell us what you thought about Juju in this game.
I think this may have been his best game as a Chief, honestly. Like he made some big time catches, some great blocks on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
For McKinnon and Pacheco to run those flare passes and runs onto the outside. I thought this was a great game. It reminded me of Pittsburgh Juju, which you haven't seen in a long time.
So I've got his stats pulled up. He led the team in targets with 9. He caught 7 passes for 53 yards for a long of 14. This is where stats don't tell you everything. Right. Juju was basically Mahomes' security blanket in the second half.
Yeah, he went away from Kelsey and went to Juju.
Yeah, and I think that was by defensive design. So the idea was if Juju can beat us, and man, Juju was our super X factor during the playoffs, and we kind of didn't mention him leading up to the Super Bowl. And well, no, that's not true. Steven did mention Juju. But yeah, the stats don't tell you the story here. So the MVP award isn't given to the player with the best stats, which of course hurts my argument against Mahomes. But yeah, without Juju in that second half, I don't know where the Chiefs are. And I love that you mentioned his blocking. Yes, that's huge.
Got to have receivers that can block.
Yeah.
That's why my Bulldogs were so successful running the ball. Great blocking from the tight ends and great blocking from receivers. And that's the way it's got to be in the NFL.
It's the most important thing on offense is the block.
Separates the men from boys at receiver for sure.
At number 3 is Jalen Hurts. And I understand he
Very
was on
fair.
a losing team. We just had a dude get put into the Hall of Fame this week, or he got elected to the Hall of Fame. He's not in yet. But Chuck Howley from the Cowboys, Super Bowl V MVP. By the way, the Cowboys lost that game. There is precedence. Jean-Sebastien Giguère. If you're a hockey fan, you might know that name. 2003, the Mighty Ducks, or the Ducks, whichever they were called back then, the name switched at some point, made it to the Stanley Cup Finals and lost, and he was the playoff MVP on the losing side. That's a playoff MVP, not a series MVP, so I guess that makes a difference too. But yeah, Jalen Hurts played an outstanding game. And
three rushing touchdowns.
3 rushing touchdowns, ties a Super Bowl record with Terrell Davis. The
Wow.
3 touchdowns scored period ties a record held by several people. By the way, Jerry Rice did it twice. And his 20 points in the game, because he scored a 2-point conversion, tied James White from the Patriots in that one game against that one team where they were losing by however many points.
At halftime.
Yeah, I forget about it. It escapes my brain. I can't remember it. But yeah, he scored 3 touchdowns in that game and a 2-point conversion to score 20 points. For a kicker to score that many points, you need a lot of field goals and extra points. So it could technically be broken. Someone might have a 4-touchdown game one day, but it's not just that too. He threw some dimes. That play to Goddard on the sideline.
There was like 3 to Goddard that were just unbelievable catches, unbelievable throws.
Yeah, and if we want to go ahead and pull up stats, and here we go. Hurts, 27 of 38, 304 and a touch, 70 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. I mean, if you had him in fantasy, you did pretty good, man. And considering the 2-point conversion. So yeah, I'll do the math real quick. 7 points for the rushing, 18 points for the touchdown, 25, 27 for the 2, 31 with the 4 points for the passing touchdown, plus 12 yards. I have 43 points in your fantasy league if you're playing them in a standard league. So pretty good.
A bad day. Yeah, not a bad day at all.
So yeah, the fact that they lost that game doesn't take away his value to the game too much. You know, that win or loss came down to the foot of Harrison Butker. If he happened to miss that kick, we have a whole different result, you know? Or let's say it was 35-34 when he kicked that ball and it missed. All of a sudden now Hurts is more valuable than the other guy because somebody missed a kick. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I think Hurts' name belonged in that conversation. Steve already dropped the name at number 2, man. Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce had 7, pardon me. I lost him. Still on the Chiefs page, on the Eagles page. Travis Kelce had 6 catches for 81 yards. How many targets do you think he had?
Maybe 8.
Yeah, he had 6. He caught every one of them.
Every one of them.
Yeah,
wow.
every one of them.
I couldn't believe they didn't go to him more. I really thought he was at minimum 10 targets.
So did I. And yeah, so did I. But it looks like the Eagles made a commitment to stop him, which is pretty smart. You know, that might be the best receiving tight end in NFL history. Definitely. I would say he's got a case for it already, and he still has maybe a couple years to pad that case. We're talking about a receiving tight end, given his skill set. Maybe not overall tight end. It's a whole different conversation. But yeah, and that's where Juju came in and became the guy in the second half. But Steven and I both had the same idea, man. After the Eagles scored the opening touchdown, if the Chiefs didn't respond, that could have been what we thought happening. We could have been that double-digit Eagles win by the end. And they came right out. And Kelce made a great move to get into the end zone, made a nice catch over the shoulder. And next thing you know, it's a tie game. I'm like, all right, it's a game. So Kelce is my number 2 pick. My number 1 pick, the guy I would have picked for Super Bowl MVP, because I'm a defense guy. I picked Nick Bolton for Super Bowl MVP. And it's not just the fumble recovery, man. The guy had solid coverage all night. You know, if he was on Goddard and Goddard made a catch on him, it had to be a spectacular catch. He led the team in tackles. He had a second almost touchdown, you know? And
that one was real close.
Yeah, it's not by accident. Yeah, we didn't forget that call. Well, actually, we did forget that call. We should mention it. According to the NFL rulebook, that wasn't a catch by Miles Sanders. It wasn't.
I didn't
And
think it was at the time, just because he
30 years
didn't
ago it was.
have time to turn
Right.
and actually like start up field. It was
Football move.
instantaneous.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought they got that one right, but I was telling people there, I was like, that's not a catch. That can't be called a catch. The way the refs were going for Kansas City, I kind of thought that they were going to
No.
call it a fumble, but thankfully
Mm,
they at
no,
least
because referees
made a
aren't
fair
biased to a
call
team.
there.
Yeah, nope, no conspiracies here, folks. There's plenty of real conspiracies out there. This isn't one of them. Yeah, but yeah, it's not by accident. Bolton's in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, he
He's
played
got a
great.
nose for the ball. He did play great. He's got a nose for the ball. He's got good diagnostic ability at the linebacker spot. Drafting him really helped turn this Chiefs defense around. They're not an elite unit by any means, but they were quietly a top 10 unit this year.
Right.
And I think Bolton is not only their MVP in this game, but outside of maybe Chris Jones, because it's just the monstrous season he had, he he was kind of the team defensive MVP in a sense too. He wasn't their most outstanding player. Maybe that would be Chris Jones, but most valuable, Nick Bolton. That was my pick for Super Bowl MVP. I wouldn't have bet $1 on it because I knew it wasn't going to happen, but it was my
Sure.
pick. I like picking defensive players to win when they're the best player on the field. Aaron Donald was the best player on the field in the Super Bowl last year.
Well, you can't understate enough that play he made where he recovered that
Mm-hmm.
strip sack fumble for a touchdown. That changed everything.
Yeah, and how many
Everything.
times do you see guys not able to scoop that ball up so smooth? You
Right.
know,
Or they fall over,
they
trip
yeah,
themselves, or don't even get the ball
don't even get the
sometimes. Like,
ball.
but I'm serious. That play to me is the biggest play of the Super Bowl, hands
Yep.
down. If Philly goes down and gets a field goal or another touchdown, game's over in my opinion, probably. I
Yeah.
mean, I think Philly just controls the rest of that game and they win. That play changed everything and saved Kansas City's season. So in my opinion, I'm 100% in agreement with you. To me, he should have been Super Bowl MVP, Nick Bolton.
Nice.
Yep,
Yeah, I was gonna ask you to
100%.
analyze me, but I'll take
No,
that.
I had a list here, and I had actually had him as my guy too for
Nice.
Kansas City. I just thought Mahomes, yeah, you got credit for a couple great touchdowns, but to me, Bolden's play literally saved their season.
Yeah. And NFL sports writers by and large are lazy, and I'm serious. They are. They're lazy and they're kind of unintelligible as far as some of the stuff they write. And I don't know. Just give it to the quarterback.
Yeah,
That's basically what
low
it boils
hanging
down to.
fruit kind of thing.
Yeah, there
Yep.
was no overwhelming performance, which is usually
Right.
what it takes for a non-quarterback to win. I think back to that first Dallas Buffalo Super Bowl where you could have named anybody off Dallas's defense the MVP because they were just destructive. I mean,
Right.
I'm talking about 8, 9 takeaways. That's not an exaggeration. And
That's
it was like 8
unbelievable.
or 9 takeaways. Nah, I give it to the quarterback. And Troy Aikman won game MVP. And he had a good game. I'm not saying
Sure.
Mahomes had a bad game. I'm not. It's a testament to the Chiefs. By the Chiefs fans, any of you all mad at me about this, thinking I'm a Mahomes hater, I'll tell you right now, that's the best quarterback I've ever seen in my life as far as talent. He is the best I've ever seen. And this was my 40th consecutive Super Bowl that I've watched. And started when I was real little, when I was negative age, actually. but, it's a testament to your team that this guy wasn't in my top 5 for MVP, and you still won the game. So take it as the compliment it's meant to be. But believe me, I acknowledge you,
Yeah.
Kansas City Chiefs. You are the Super Bowl champions. You are.
Right.
Um, I would still think maybe top to bottom, Philadelphia had a better roster, but that doesn't matter.
Still not.
I think another score of this game could be maybe like Chiefs 95, Eagles 88. As in, like, that's the capacity to which they played. I think the Eagles played about 88% of their best game, and I would say the Chiefs played about 95%
Yeah,
of
the
their
best
best
played
game.
flawless.
Yeah,
Not no interceptions, fumbles. I think that's what it was going to take too. Me and you had talked, and I'd said that Kansas City's got to play perfect, and they did.
they about did.
You got to give them the credit. I don't know. What a team, what a coach, we're living in another dynasty. For the first time since the Patriots. I mean, how can you not say the Chiefs are a dynasty? I mean, it's not like and I'm got Sports Center on here, and seeing the Chiefs are set up for next year too. I mean, they're going to go out and only get better. They're going to draft like another superstar receiver, go sign a big name receiver. So quickly, I wanted to briefly discuss, did the Eagles kind of miss their window here? As I was saying, the Chiefs, I think they're just going to reload and keep getting better and better. Eagles have 20 free agents this offseason. Some could retire, like we said, or they do have a little bit of cap room. I'm sure they'll bring a few back.
Yeah, but once they sign Hurts.
Right. They're gonna roll into that problem that a lot of teams with great young quarterbacks are gonna have. Is they got to pay the quarterback. Um, you know, guys like the running back, uh, blanking on his name. Did
Again,
this
Miles
last
Sanders.
week. Miles
We don't care
Sanders.
about Miles Sanders.
That's how irrelevant he is to that system, I think. Honestly,
He can be
Gainwell's
plugged
better.
out and plugged in real easily. I agree.
He's a free agent. Fletcher
Yeah.
Cox. I mean, some big names. So my question to you, do you think the Eagles are back next year, or did they miss their chance?
They missed their chance to win the Super Bowl. They're still going to contend, and once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. But they missed their chance. Kind of bums me out a little bit because that could have been the Niners in there,
Should have
and
been.
we ran into a team that was better than us. It was just this season they were better than us, and even as a Niner fan, I still picked the Eagles to win that game, and obviously it got out of hand for various reasons, but I think straight up they were better, and they're not taking advantage of that situation, winning the Super Bowl this year. They did everything they could, almost.
I
But
really feel like their defense just let them down, man.
a little bit.
Overall,
Their
not
pass
getting
rush
a
wasn't
sack.
there.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
Yeah. They did get some pressure. I mean, I think their pressure rate was similar to what it's been all season. They just weren't closing the sacks, and part of that's Mahomes and his escapability. But yeah, I mean, they didn't even really threaten a takeaway. I mean,
No,
just they didn't play anywhere near to their level. You got guys like Darius Slay and James Bradbury, which were a great corner combination all season
another
long.
free
But
agent to be.
yes,
Mr. Badbury.
yeah. Oh, by the way, we didn't mention this. Admitted he held, but anyway,
I think he did come out and say
yeah,
that. I don't
he
know if
admitted he
he'd
held.
seen the
He was hoping to get
replay
away with
yet
it.
or not, but I
Well, he
think
knows what he
after
did.
seeing the replay, he ought to know that was
Yeah.
pretty
Well,
tic tac.
and also the one thing I noticed during the game was he didn't complain. They called the foul. He just kind of went like this.
This is what blew my mind too on that. I know we keep
Yep.
getting back to that, but when the receiver doesn't, I played receiver in high school. If the receiver isn't looking at the ref, jawing, got his hands in the air, like, where's the flag? There's not a flag. Every receiver's a diva. They want the ball, and they will let you know when they get held or when there's a penalty. Trust me, I promise you. I
Also,
was
if you
that
see
way.
but if you see the flag before you complain, then what's the reason to complain?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my fault. I got us off topic there. But yeah, and I think being older corners, maybe they slowed down as the season went along. And normally James Bradbury versus Juju Smith-Schuster, give me Bradbury.
Absolutely.
Week 2, week 4, week 5, week 10, week 14 even. But maybe by the time the season wound down, maybe Juju slipped back into the main role there as the favorite in that matchup. So yeah, as far as next season goes, a brief little look into what that could look like. Patrick Mahomes has maybe the smartest contract in football. It gives the Chiefs flexibility to do the things they need to do. And, they got the last pick in the first round. They're probably not going to get they may or may not get a good pick in there, but they'll find somebody later in the draft. And that just shows you how important rookie classes are, man. The Chiefs put McDuffie and Karlaftis and Williams and all those guys in the defense as rookies, and they all played their role, especially Karlaftis and McDuffie. So, yep, you expect these guys to bounce back. The Chiefs are always going to be contenders with Andy Reid. I don't see how they would fall out. And
He already said he's coming back,
yeah,
so
and they
you
need a
got to
backup
believe they're going
quarterback.
to be.
They need a backup
Yeah, Henry
quarterback now. Chad
retired.
Henne retired. which he will be missed, I guess.
He was at Michigan when I was in high school, bro.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
That's how old he is.
And I'm pretty sure, this is off the top of my head, that the longest drive in all the playoffs this year was quarterbacked by Chad Henne. So he played his
They went
role.
98 yards.
So so it was quarterbacked by Chad Henne. So he played his role. But before we kick this, I do have to mention, and we kind of hinted at it earlier in the show, but I'm a little sad of myself right now, and I'm a little thankful that we're not a gambling podcast because I went 0 for 4 in my prop bets. I had the right idea with Jerick McKinnon. He didn't get enough targets. He fell a little short. Obviously, the Eagles didn't win, so
that's what killed me. For the most part.
That prop bet was never going to win if they weren't going to win the game. I said the first touchdown would be a passing touchdown. I had Hurts in mind, but I had him throwing it, and they got down too deep where they were going to run that scrum QB sneak. So that one was dead. The one that killed me was freaking Quez Watkins.
Dropped that pass.
He dropped it, man. I called it perfectly. I said he'll get like a little break, he'll get a little slip, and he'll catch it because he had a catch in the game for like 8-9 yards. I'm like, oh, okay, you couldn't have got me the 12 yards I needed. But and then the dude just dropped it, and he just dropped it. And that one hurt. That one hurt because I was right and still wrong. It's like playing poker and making a perfect call, and dude catches the river, and you can't do nothing about it. So that's how that felt.
So frustrating about sports gambling. You can have the right player, you can have the right team,
everything works.
One little thing done, and it's like, how does this happen? How did I have Kelsey scoring a touchdown and not win money? Like,
right. So I put not all my eggs, but I put, some of my little Cadbury eggs into a Quez Watkins basket. So maybe I got what I deserve because he's not exactly a top flight NFL wide receiver. He's clearly a very talented young man. He's playing football in the NFL, He'll kick all our asses in football. But,
or any sport for that matter.
Yeah, probably any sport. But I challenge him in backgammon, though. But as far as NFL quality starting wide receiver, no, he's not at that level. So I put my eggs in that basket. So 0 for 4. I guess I could have gone worse. I could have gone 0 for 5. I just stopped at 4 picks. So that's me. Hey guys, we'll let you know when we do something good. We'll let you know when we do something smart. I'll let you know when I do something goofy, if I do something that didn't turn out. This is one of those, I really hope nobody ran too far or too deep into the recommendations. If you put $5 on them, okay. One thing, I hope you didn't oh, you know what? Pete's right. Quez Watkins going to blow up. I'm going to put my house on this thing. I hope nobody did that.
Right.
So that's me with the prop bets. Steve, you weren't. It wasn't a great day for our props, was it?
No, definitely wasn't. I had the right guys on a few of them, but they just didn't get enough yards or didn't get a touchdown.
You had a Gainwell prop, didn't you?
Yeah, I had Gainwell to score and the Eagles to win. But
and you know what? He scored, it looked like. I mean, the replay was correct. He was like 3 inches short of the goal line.
Yeah.
It was the correct call. And I was like, I'm sitting there watching the game. Like, I think Steve had Gainwell.
Yeah.
That's a nice one to knock
I had
out
him
quickly.
On yards and the touchdown.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a nice one to knock out quickly. And then they showed the replay, like, oh, come on.
Yeah, that hurt. And then so I took a lot of these player parlays where it's like so-and-so to score a touchdown and the team to win. And you get really good odds, but that bit me in the ass, obviously. Because once the Eagles, I had Hurts having 2 touchdowns or more and the Eagles winning. Of course, they didn't win. I had Gainwell, I had Devonte Smith to score a touchdown. He gets a wide open fade and then falls on his own feet.
Yeah, he couldn't keep his balance.
So I don't know. I think this game is going to officially retire me because it seems to whoever I bet, no matter how good of a bettor they are, no matter how much data they have, it can be this is hit 9 out of 10 games. It won't for me. So
that means 1 out of 10.
That's just my luck. That's my luck for you. So I'm officially retiring from DraftKings. I deleted the freaking app. They made me so mad. So until Georgia football comes back around, because that's the one thing that I know better than anyone, I will not bet again.
That's fine. Yeah, and that's part of gambling too. No one went not to bet, and that's
Yeah.
very mature and intelligent. I will say I missed my Jerick McKinnon prop, but I will give him massive props. That dude had a chance to put his name in the record books as having scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, and he did the smart thing and he went down at the one, and
Yeah.
he gave away his personal glory for his team, and that is not an easy thing to do, especially on a stage like this. So I mean, that basically the Eagles were clearly letting him score. They were clearly letting him
Yeah, they were
score,
going to let him.
and he didn't take the bait. So very intelligent, high IQ football player, Mr. McKinnon, former 49er, by the way.
And Viking.
And Viking, yes, that's right. He played for both of our teams. Oh, boy. And Devonte Smith was the only position player to get to 100 yards, rushing or receiving. He got exactly 100 yards. So in a game that had 73 points, that tells you that many people were contributing. So, yeah, high quality game. A lot of people are jumping on the best Super Bowl ever. No, I'm not going to go there, especially with recency bias. The most exciting Super Bowl I ever saw was Titans Rams, and that only had 39 points in it. And that game had me, and I, as a Niner fan, and the Rams coming out of nowhere that game, I was heavily rooting for the Titans.
That's the Kevin Dyson stretch.
Yep. But the whole game was exciting. I mean, there was no turnover in that game. There's only 2 Super Bowls with no turnovers. That one and the Bills Giants that came down to the Norwood missed field goal, and very few penalties. Solid offense. Defense played good in the red zone. So there were some field goals, of course, but yeah, just because there were 73 points in this game doesn't automatically make it the most exciting game. Again, I'll give it credit. It was a fun game. I'm glad I watched it. At no point did I feel like, oh, this is a drag, But yeah, recency bias being what it is, I think a lot of people are already saying it's the greatest Super Bowl ever played or the most exciting. It's a contender for the top 10.
I think if it had a better conclusion, better ending, it would definitely be higher for me. Because I thought it was a great game until that call with 2 minutes. I was like,
and you know what? It's not the first Super Bowl ever with a late penalty call.
Sure.
It's not. And, like I
Won't
said,
be
I
the
think
last.
the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs caught the Eagles off guard with that play. I was not expecting them going to the end zone on that play at all.
A throwback fade off of a whip route wheel.
Yeah. So I give credit to the play call too. And Juju put himself in a position where he was either maybe going to catch the ball or draw a flag. And I think a lot of people I've heard that complained about the ball not being catchable. That doesn't apply to holding. A non-catchable play only applies to pass interference.
Maybe it should, but it doesn't.
No, because the hold can make the ball look uncatchable. So that's the reason for that. So, yeah, I'm tired of talking about refs, but I guess we had to.
Yeah.
I do want
Let's
to
just
again.
give this to Mahomes.
Yeah.
Put a bow on top.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the quarterback position, he's the best quarterback in the league. It's a good thing he has teammates because nobody beats a team by themselves. And
he could, I think. He's that good.
only
1 on 11.
There's only one person that can pull off the 1 on 11. That's freaking Bugs Bunny. He's the only one that can handle that. I've seen him do it playing baseball. I haven't seen him doing it playing football. But I'm pretty sure I saw him throw the ball from shortstop to first base, and he was both the shortstop and the first baseman. So yeah, maybe Mahomes is as close to a cartoon character as we're ever gonna get. Kermit reference. But anyway, yep, it was a fun game. It was an exciting game. It never got too out of hand for either team, and both teams were good. I think the Chiefs are more likely to repeat their success in the future. The Eagles' window may have been this season, and they're gonna pay Jalen Hurts like $40-something million a year, and that's gonna inhibit their ability to build a team around them. So if you're not on a rookie contract anymore, or if you're not on a properly structured contract like Mahomes is on, there's no window.
You got to have that 10-year plus contract to make the cap manageable.
Or someone has to be smart and pay a quarterback correct money. And
that ain't going to happen.
It's not going to happen. So I like the idea of recycling quarterbacks every 4 or 5 years, unless you've got a massive Mahomes level, Josh Allen level superstar. So yeah, I just draft a new guy every 4 years. Have faith in your system.
Well, I think that's going to put a bow on the Super Bowl for the boys here at the Catching
Yeah,
Flies podcast. I mean, as far as the NFL season being over, it's kind of like a super sad day for me
yeah,
because
that's it.
I'm gonna miss it. I miss my college football already. But now we turn the page to the draft, and combine and that kind of workouts and stuff. So
Yeah,
that's going to be fun. That's going to be exciting. We'll probably take a break from football for a little
yeah, for at
while.
least
You
a
want to
week. Yeah,
forecast?
I should think. I think the next football show we'll do is something I've always wanted to do, uh, on camera as a mock draft. I'm a
Yeah,
sucker for mock draft. I'm a total sucker. Some
I
people are
love a
sucker
good mock.
for the red carpet stuff before the award shows, and I don't get it. I don't get that. And a lot of
Right.
people will look at me and not understand the mock draft thing. So I read good ones, I read bad ones.
I do too.
If I
I,
see a mock draft thing come up on my suggestions or whatever, I'm just
what and what I like to do, I like to see, who my team is supposedly got a chance to get, and then
yeah.
look them up and
Well, I
find
ain't worried
out,
about
okay,
that.
this guy would be a great fit, or this guy would be a better fit. Like, but yeah, I love a mock draft, so I can't wait for that.
Yeah,
Uh, did want to say, like, we had one of our best episodes ever last Friday, a special Friday drop, How I Met Your
yeah.
Mother
People listen. Yeah,
episode.
got some good
Seemed
views
to
on
really
that.
like that.
We want to
Yeah.
thank
So
everybody for that. Yeah,
yeah, thank you
absolutely.
guys all for listening and liking it. If there's any other shows you want us to run down, please
Yeah, we're
message
open
us.
to all kinds of suggestions. I mean, we stuck with the NFL for the playoffs, but if
Right.
you recall
That was a
before that, we were
must.
doing just kind of a topical show. We did one about American popularity of soccer. We did one about the construct behind the college football playoff. I mean, next week, Steve and I we don't know what we're going to do next week. We know it's not going to be football. We know it's not. We need at least a 1 week break from it. And, but we're going to do something topical. We're not going to sit there and just read the scores out of the newspaper.
Right.
I'm so old, but that's what I used to do.
What's a
That's a
newspaper?
newspaper. What's paper? I've read that as newspaper. What's a spaper?
That's paper.
But anyway, guys, I would like to thank you for making it this far. Now that you have hit that like button, we had a deal. We wanted the subscribe button first and get the like button now. Share the video. Feel free to comment. We're so thankful for all of you. And, like I said, we do the show all the time, every day. Just every now and then we want to get in front of y'all and give you insights of our crazy little brains. So I'm going to go ahead and call it for myself. Going to kick it over to Steven over there, and he is going to give you all the necessary info to get on board with the Catching Flies podcast. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day, night, week, and we'll see you next time. For me, this is Steven.
Yep. Thank you guys. Like you said, like it, subscribe, share. We are on Twitter at Catching Flies W1. And I'm on Facebook as Stephen Burton. He's on Facebook as Pete McCottis. We thank you for your time, and we'll see you next week. Go catch a fly.